Hello everybody and welcome back to VFR. Today we are continuing our DC-6 campaign with episode 4. We are going to be flying here out of Berlin Tegel International Airport, flying back over Europe, crossing the channel to RAF Mildenhall. Now, we're going to be taking this Navy bird up. We're going to have some passengers and cargo today. And as you can see, it's also a pretty cold and snowy and icy day out. So we're going to be dealing with that as we take off, as we climb out of here. I think the weather is going to be better once we get across the channel for landing, but we will see. Alright, so welcome up into the cockpit. The guys have gone through the pre-start checklist. We're all set for engine start. We do want to run through the route for today real quick. Pull up our little nav map. We are going to be rocking from Tegel here at the north side of Berlin. We're going to be taking off probably heading east. I think the wind is coming around 10 knots from the east. So we're going to be turning left and then heading for Bravo Kilo Delta VOR. At that point, we're going to be turning left on a heading of 270 due west for about 100 miles until we hit Bremen. And then we will hit the edge of the Netherlands at Hotel Delta Romeo, from which we'll fly 262 for 112 nautical miles over the channel. And we'll be shooting for November Delta, this NDB here. And at that point, we'll be on final to Mildenhall. So, not a lot of nav aids to really worry about today. Should be fairly straightforward. We're flying west. And we've got all the first frequencies dialed into our GPS set here. So the engine start procedures are going to be largely the same. It's just going to be really important that we catch it on the first try. Now I've been running, we've got engine 3 running already, because I was playing around with it, making sure I could remember how to do it. And so we're going to just make every effort to catch it, because if we don't get it started on the first go, it's going to get harder every time, because water and oil will start to freeze up in there, and it will become harder to start the engine. And we have all the realistic settings on, so that is something we should be concerned with. Now, we're going to go up and do our normal engine select. We're going to be doing engine 4 to low. Selectors both to 4. And we're going to hit start.
3, 6, 9, 12.
Boost prime. We're down. We're going to get... And we're losing engine 4. Alright, so that was an unsuccessful start. So, we may have to leave it in idle cutoff for a little bit longer on the mixture. That's one thing that the POH suggests, to make sure it's burning whatever is in there, and it lets the engine rotate more. So we'll give it another try.
3, 6, 9,
Boost
12.
prime. Give it fuel. And engine 4 is stabilizing. It's stabilizing a bit below 3. But it looks like it's catching up now. So we got it. Alright, engine 2 low. To both. To 2.
3, 6, 9, 12.
Boost prime. Get it into auto rich, and we've got it. All right, one more. And engine 1 is stabilizing, and we are away. All our gauges look okay. And we're going to ask the guys to run the after start checklist.
Off and off. Battery switch. Plane battery. Generators and inverters.
Alright, so we're going to let them do their thing, and then we'll taxi on out to the runway and get set for takeoff.
Armed.
Alright, we are here, holding short of runway 8 left. We're going to go ahead and taxi out onto the runway, if I can find it. And we are at 86,000 pounds today. So that means we can do a just barely dry takeoff.
Stabilize. 30 inches stabilize.
Now bringing the power up. Now we're going to turn left on departure, and we are going to be turning really until that. We're going to go straight for that that VOR on 117.7.
30 inches stabilized. Cal flaps. Cal flaps.
Probably heading around 293 or so.
Full power, please. Going full power. Full power set.
Full power has been set. We're going to give it a little bit of left rudder. And away we go. This is my first flight in the DC-6 with actual rudder pedal, so that's a little bit... Hopefully it'll help the handling a little bit. We're at 80. Just gently pull back. Got a positive rate, gear up.
Positive rate, gear up. Gear selected up.
And the boys are already on it.
Lights up. Flaps up. Flaps going up. Meter power. Setting meter power 48 inches, 2600 RPM. Meter power set. Climb power. Setting climb power.
Now my first VOR isn't coming in, which sadly is not uncommon. 7.7. 7.7. So we're going to guesstimate a little bit here.
Climb power set. Have to take off checklist, please. After takeoff checks complete.
And I think it is starting to come in. Yep, so we got the VOR now. So as we climb out, we're going to be climbing to about 16,000 feet today. I do want to make sure that we have our heating on as we climb out through these clouds. And we'll keep the prop de-icer on. And just verifying down here, 70 miles. That is about right. So we are on our way, climbing air, out of Berlin. I do think the snow effects are really cool. I think they do a really good job, even if they look a little funky up close at the airport. We're just going to keep on trimming for about 170. Alright, welcome back. We are climbing here through 4,700 at this point. We're getting ready to level off at 15,000. We're going to do a bit of a step climb here. So to punch above 15,000 feet, we could probably get to 16,000 feet without much trouble, but we're going to run the supercharger procedure because we should. And because we probably needed to get up to 16,000 feet. And it's also just good to practice these things. So we're going to go ahead and level off. We're going to slap in altitude hold mode. We are about 30 nautical miles from the VOR, which is Bravo Kilo Delta. We did get a little slow on the climb there, so that's something we're going to have to think about too. I was pushed back a little bit too much, and that did some screenshotting. So just keep an eye on that. Once you're, we're still shooting for around 170 knots to climb out. We're going to let it pick up a little bit of speed before we go into the supercharger procedure. But in the meantime, we're going to take control from the AFE. We are going to make sure our mixtures are auto-rich. They are. Our RPM's at 2,400. We're going to keep pushing our throttle forward until we get to 40. And that's going to come all the way back. So I'm full forward. So we need to pull back on the power to 28 inches. And really these should be throttles 1 and 4, but we'll see. Then engine supercharger control 1 and 4. We're going to set them into the high blower mode. And we're going to check that our manifold pressure is up at around 40, and it is. So after that, we can bring, we're already back there. We're going to go 2 and 3. And we're going to check, and we're at 40. So we should have some more power to climb out with. So we're going to take off altitude hold mode and just keep on climbing. So yeah, not critically necessary. In fact, we may even want to climb through this cloud layer. So we're not riding it all the way to England. But it's always good to practice. miles, and we'll just keep manually adjusting the power as we climb out. So far so good. It's been fairly uneventful. Let's check on our engine history. It's saying we're in excessive BMAP. Oil temperature is question mark, and everything seems a little bit cold. Touch more climb. And we're coming up on 16,000 now. We are going to altitude hold mode. And the clouds aren't too thick, so I think we'll be okay. Alright, so we have a turn coming up in about 4 minutes. We'll be turning basically left. We'll follow this VOR outbound on the 270 radial. And then once you've gone about 30-40 miles, we'll start looking for the Bremen VOR, which is over Bremen, I think, International Airport, in the city of Bremen. Alright, we're about to make our first turn. We're about 4 miles out, 3.3, 3.2. We've gone into, generally the procedure I give you through, we go into gyropilot. We may bring it left a little bit, try and start to intercept this radial. And then once we see the thin white line, flip around and turn backwards. As it's starting to go now, at that point we can start to pick up the new radial outbound. So it'll come back in, and there it is. And here comes the radial. We'll go over to localizer mode and let the airplane pick it up. Alright, this is likely to be about 100 nautical miles, so I will check back with you guys when we are probably crossing the channel. Alright, so we've made our final maneuver to cross the channel. We are now flying the outbound radial 262 from Hotel Delta Romeo off of the coast of the Netherlands. We're going to be flying now towards the NDB November Delta on the English coast, right by Greater Yarmouth. And that's in about 112 nautical miles. Now, we are cruising at 16,000 feet today. And we will be traveling 5 nautical miles for every 1,000 foot we're descending. That's the rule of thumb. So, we are going to be descending for about 80 nautical miles. Plus 20 nautical miles to slow down. This means we need to be descending 100 nautical miles from RAF Mildenhall. Now, we basically have 112 nautical miles until we hit the English coast, and then we have 48 nautical miles until we hit Mildenhall, so 160 miles. Which means basically 60 miles from Hotel Delta Romeo. Once this counts up to 60, we will be ready to descend. So we'll begin our descent into RAF Mildenhall. Once that hits 60, we'll keep this VOR tuned, and then we'll be kind of pointing towards the NDB, but using the VOR for distance. We're over England now, closing in on RAF Mildenhall. We have the ILS giving us the direction to the airport. No range yet, but it should be out in front of us. I believe the lights you can see to the right is Lakenheath, and then there's a smaller strip out further, which should be Mildenhall. Now, what the town we're going to pass over here, we're doing this visually. We're going to pass over Thetford, which is this right here. This town right in front of us along the river. Once we pass Thetford, we're going to turn, or once we're all the way through it, once we're well past it, and once we're coming kind of in line with Lakenheath off to our right, we're going to make a turn right to 283, which is going to be the reciprocal of the runway, and then we'll enter the downwind to land. We are now past Thetford. We're going to begin our turn to 283, and it's just going to be a pretty gentle turn. But it does need to be fairly precise. And we'll start bringing it back. And level off. Now this is going to put us on a bit of a collision course with Lakenheath, but we're going to assume that ATC is deconflicting for us. I think we'll just about overfly the runway. And yep, there is RAF Lakenheath. So Mildenhall should be off to our left. We're going to extend the downwind out to 10 miles or so. And there's the field. Alright, so we have Mildenhall in sight. We're looking pretty good. So we're going to fly an extended downwind and then come around to land. And we're starting to get the ILS coming in too. So I'm going to take control from the FE. Just going to reset the power. We're going to get down to about 26 inches manifold pressure. And just keep that speed coming back down slowly. And right now I'm really just judging the distance by the vertical component of the ILS. Once that's level, we should be about 10 miles from the airport, and we'll be able to begin our turn back if we're on a 3-degree glide slope. We're getting a little slow, so let's give it some power. And because we're kind of familiar with the area, we know it's Eli right here, which is again kind of right on the ILS. I think we've used this town as a visual marker before. Alright, and we're now below the glide slope at 3,000 feet, which means it's a pretty safe bet that we are about 10 miles away. So I'm going to take off my autopilots. We're going to manual disconnect. And I'm going to take the con. So what we need to do is do a pretty aggressive loop. So we're going to bring it around. Keep the power down. We want to keep below 175 knots. And we're going to go ahead and run them before landing.
Flaps 20. Setting flaps 20. Set. ADI. ADI off. ADI is off. Landing lights. Speed good. Extending lights. Lights extended and on. Carbine. Carbine called. Set called.
Alright, so we're all set up for landing. We're a little low, 2,600 feet. We need to maintain altitude, so I'm just give it a little more power. And here comes the ILS. I think I can see the runway. It's snowy, so it's hard to say. We'll let it come in the last little bit. It is faint on the horizon, but you can see it. Glide slope's starting to come in, so we're going to come back to 100 BMEP. And give it flaps 30. Not quite catching the glide slope. So flaps 40. And I'll even go to 50. Just try and catch up a little bit. Alright, we're still sitting a little high. Got full flaps. Got the runway. And we're trending in an okay direction. Alright, that looks like two whites. I'm hoping that the other side of that's two reds. We're getting a little low, but that's alright. not too bad. A little bit of stuttering, a little bit of slippage, and a little bit of a bounce. Alright, welcome back everybody to RAF Mildenhall. So pretty good landing, pretty good flight. We had a little bit of a bounce there on the final approach, but all in all, went pretty well. So, welcome back, and as per tradition here, we're going to figure out where we're going next. So, without further ado, we are taking a special delivery of Jeeps and trucks, mostly Jeeps, to NATO forces in Rome, Italy. Lima, India, Romeo Alpha. That should be a nice little haul, a little bit different from what we've been doing back and forth to Berlin. So, looking forward to that. It also should be an evening trip. We'll be getting off the blocks about 18:30, so that should be fun. Please join us then. And yeah, thanks for watching. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or anything else you want to see, or have any ideas for things we could do with the DC-6 or any other airplane, drop them in the comments section below. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of stuff, and check out all of our other videos on VFR. Thanks for coming along on this flight. Take it easy, all.